Why wouldn't I speak freely with a law enforcement officer if I have nothing to hide and the officer seems sincere in his questioning? Great question. There are some genuinely nice men and women serving in law enforcement. That stated, any time when a law enforcement officer is asking you questions, be aware that 1. Law enforcement officers are under no obligation to tell the truth about what they are doing. They can lie to you in an effort to get you to disclose things that could lead to more citations or more criminal charges, or even arrest. And 2, law enforcement officers are trained, whether formally or informally, whether they deny it or not, to engage in seemingly innocent chit-chat to probe for evidence of crimes you may have committed, whether you may be aware you've committed them or not. You'd be amazed how many innocent or seemingly innocent things count as crimes. When an officer asks something like, "So did you raise your arms as your boyfriend or girlfriend ran toward you?" You may believe the officer is asking questions to you about self-defense, trying to help you out perhaps. Probably not, sorry to say. Instead, the officer is likely to get you to admit, or trying to get you to admit, or something that can be construed as an admission, that you made violent or threatening gestures, because he or she admitted that he or she raised his or her arms as the boyfriend or girlfriend ran toward him or her. Another example, the officer asks, "What did you say to your husband or wife?" That officer is trying to get evidence that you made a threat, not that you didn't. And if you say that to the officer truthfully, and without ever intending it to come across as anything even close to a threat, if you say something like, "I told my husband or my wife, you'll regret it if you do that," well, then the officer could, and likely will, twist that as a threat of physical harm. Do you see a principle emerging here? If it feels rude to you not to engage in the polite conversation with the officer, and I understand that, a sneaky or corrupt officer is counting on that and will act angry or hurt over it. Don't fall for it. Best practice? Don't answer questions. Anything you say can and will be used against you is real. When asked for your name or do you live here, well, go ahead and answer those questions and answer them honestly. But beyond that, you don't have to answer questions. You have the right not to incriminate yourself, and you don't need to explain why. So if the officer asks for an explanation or reason for the refusal, don't give any. Just refuse. "But I have nothing to hide," you say. Do you see how that doesn't matter? "But the officer says I'm going to be arrested if I don't talk," you say. Do you see how the officer isn't asking you to talk for your benefit? If you're going to be arrested anyway, don't make it any easier by offering evidence against yourself. And it's all evidence against yourself. Beware of the chatty, curious officer. Don't answer questions. As Professor James Duane says, you have the right to remain innocent. I've included in the description section of this video links to Professor Duane's book and some of his lectures available on YouTube. Read his book. Watch his lectures. It could make the difference in your or a loved one's life. I really mean it.